Ladies and gentlemen, it's scooter time. Are you ready for scooter time? Here's our host who will make your liver shiver. He'll make your heart fart. Ladies and gentlemen, the ScooterStar himself, Dagwood Streets.
Yeah, all of that, and I'll make your butt strut. Well, let's not go overboard here, okay? I'm not a scooter star, but I know somebody who is. He doesn't live in this country. He lives in Canada. Today we're going to talk to Timothy West. This man is a Renaissance man. He does it all. Photography, video, audio, and he is a scooter star. I was so honored to have him on the show. I wrote an introductory song for him.
Timothy West, our first guest, is the best. Our first guest, Timothy West.
Hello, Dagwood. Nice to meet you.
And you, Timothy. I'm a big fan. Been watching your videos and inspired by them. And you live in what looks to be a beautiful place. I've never been to Victoria. Can you tell me a little bit about the area where you live?
Sure. It's the warmest city in Canada. We get exactly one snowfall per year, or I think the actual is it drops down below zero to freezing once per year. That typically happens late at night, sometime about now.
And do you use Celsius up there or Fahrenheit?
Yes. Yeah, but I go because I'm actually of English origin, so I can talk both ways, imperial or metric.
English origin? You're from the UK?
I could talk properly if you prefer, but
interesting.
No, we emigrated to Canada when I was young, grade eight. So I only get if I'm excited or very angry. Do I have an accent? Otherwise, we're good. So typically, you won't hear it at all.
So you ready to go ahead and just jump right into this?
Absolutely, Dagwood. You lead the way.
Okay, so I have a couple questions for you, and I wonder this about electronics. I always say electronic. It's the electric scooter. You know, the name of my podcast is Electric Scooter Podcast, and I always want to say electronic. I don't know why that comes out, but Electric Scooter Guide and all these different folks, and this is why I'm asking you this. I wonder when people send you, or when companies send you scooters, like I know Apollo, they're on the other side of the country from you. Do they send it to you, you ride it for a while, you check it out, and then you pack it back up in a box and send it back to them? Or do they occasionally just say, hey, keep it?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, it depends on the manufacturer. I haven't actually ridden an Apollo, but I did a video just yesterday. No, sorry, this morning.
The Phantom, I saw it. Yeah,
the Phantom. Yes. So that was my take on my thoughts. Interviewing another YouTuber and talking about what we thought about that. So in a situation like that, manufacturers will typically send me the scooter. I'll keep it. The reason why I'll keep it is because twofold. I'm greedy. No, but reality is that it's really good and important for me to be able to compare scooters. So if another scooter in a similar category was to pop up, then it makes sense for me to have that one ready to go, charge it up, and do a comparison between X scooter and Y scooter.
I can imagine it would be a huge difference between, remembering the torque on something you rode 3 months ago than having it actually there, jumping off of one scooter. Then you jump on the other one and you go, wow, it feels slow now all of a sudden, or the suspension isn't there.
You're absolutely right. In fact, when I do, for example, another one might be the height of the deck, right? So somebody might be saying, well, what happens if your scooter dies and you're on a Wolf Warrior 2 versus this one or that one or the other one? And you're like, well, I don't know. And
you're going to have to push it.
Yeah, I literally have to push it. So the other day somebody asked me about, how about when you need to fold it up and put it in the trunk of a car? Will it fit in a car? And I happen to drive one of the smallest cars on the planet. It's a little Toyota Yaris, and I literally just made a little short video and folded up a larger scooter and stuck it in the trunk of the car, and it totally fit, no problem.
And it's interesting that you mentioned folding up the Wolf Warrior. I do own a Wolf Warrior. And one thing that people don't know, I'm going to put this in a YouTube video in the future. I'm just kind of getting started with YouTube, is that the wiring that comes down from the Wolf as it comes off of the stem and then goes into the battery, that can get folded when you collapse the stem. It can be scissored and snipped in half, and that's what happened to me.
Ouch. Oh, no.
I now put a little zip tie on there. I got... there were some other issues with my Wolf. Voro Motors sent me a new one. I had some brake locking up issues and things like that. And they said, well, we'll just send you a new one. But as soon as I got that new one, I put some zip ties around the bottom to make the wiring so that it's just taut enough to where I can turn the steering all the way to one side. But, there's enough slack that it's not going to pull on the actual wire. And I think that's kind of a big deal because you hate having your scooter out of commission because of something really silly and simple that.
Yeah, I think it's a really smart idea, Dagwood. I think at the end of the day, if you can, and I think that's also something what these manufacturers are starting to do now is they're learning from the mistakes, right? I mean, These electric scooters have not been around here for 70 years like cars. So they're slowly but surely starting to figure it out. Like, what do people like? We don't like flat tires. That's a big one.
Right. I kind of recommend to folks the tubeless tires. The pneumatic tires, you get better grip on the road. You have they're just safer and they're just more comfortable. If you're riding something without good suspension, it'll kind of make up for that.
Like the Cruiser and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Voro, or one of us mentioned Voro. Mm-hmm. They recently just started with the Wolf Warrior, so they're just learning themselves all the different little issues. I mean, they're very versed in the eMove, the Cruiser and the Tourer, the different models that they have. But one thing I learned from this whole situation is I am so impressed with their customer service. It's unbelievable.
That's wonderful to hear.
Oh, they're like minutes. I mean, you go online and you just pull up their webpage and a chat box pops up and says, hi, this is Joey. Hi, this is Austin. Hi, this is Kagan or whatever.
So
what can
important.
I do for you? Oh, yeah.
And you know what? That kind of thing, like when people hear that, if they're like humming and hawing over a particular brand of model of scooter and they hear that speaks volumes.
It's huge because unlike you're very lucky. You have a place near you where you can try different scooters and things like that.
I'm right around the corner from Ride the Glide. They're amazing.
You're so lucky. I envy that. I'm in a huge city, Las Vegas, which we have everything. I mean, we have great restaurants. We have anything possibly that you could name. But we don't have a scooter here means like mobility, like what people ride around in Walmart. That's what they think of. In other parts of the country, when you say scooter, you're thinking of what other people call a moped. Or in foreign countries, even mopeds they call motorcycles. But a scooter here is like a mobility scooter. And there is no place to go in and, have your tires changed out or check your hydraulic brakes or do those kind of things. So having good technical support is huge.
Yeah, no, I concur completely.
So I was complimenting you earlier on your videography, and obviously you know what you're doing, your sound quality. As a YouTuber, I'm, like I said, breaking into the YouTube game, and I'm not monetized or anything. I'm just doing it as a hobby. But I do pay attention to audio and the music you have in your background and the way that you film things. And I just want to say that I'm impressed. It's really good. You definitely have a background in video, don't you?
I do, yes. My wife is a YouTuber, so we've been producing YouTube videos. We started her channel. We started doing a yoga video once a week, every week. We started 10 years ago, so this morning was Friday, and so as a result, there's a video that goes out every Friday morning. And so I think today was episode 528. So that's 528 weeks.
Yeah, go ahead and plug it. Her name's Melissa, right? And it's called, what's it called?
It is, yeah. If you Google Dr. Melissa West, then she'll pop up on the YouTubes. YouTube.com/Dr. Melissa West.
And is there anything you want to promote? Your side industry or business or anything?
Oh, no, I'm just delighted to be on your show and answering questions and chatting with you. I mean, if people are watching me on YouTube, then it's just youtube.com/Tim's Electric.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Very good. So I have a couple personal questions. You know, my interview technique is kind of, I assume that other people are wondering the same things that I'm wondering.
Oh, ask away, anything.
I don't speak Canadian, so I hear you say this. I'm taking the scooter out. I assume from context it means ride for a boot. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's right.
It out for
just
a boot.
Taking it out for a boot. Yeah, that's right. Just taking it out for a spin. I guess.
Is that like BOOT, like you wear on your feet, or is that
right? It's not a bout. It's a boot.
A boot. Okay, taking it out
for a boot.
Okay,
but now you've got me thinking about Dagwood. Maybe it is about ABOUT. Anyway, but yeah, no, I'm taking it out for a boot.
Taking it out for a boot.
Do I say that on camera too?
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
okay,
you do. And another question I have is, do you mess with the P settings? And my little setup for this is, as I mentioned, I own the Wolf Warrior, and you can go in there and you can tone down the torque, which I have done, because if you touch it with your finger and it just leaps forward, you can tone down the torque. You can, of course, I don't mess with the top speed, but there's a lot of different things. When you get a new scooter to test, do you start going through the P settings, or do most of the scooters you have even have P settings?
So the Zero lineup does. I don't. So this is what I would say. I typically will leave it as a manufacturer setting when it arrives to me. If I'm going to be keeping it and using it for my own use, then I will go dive into it. I typically like to be able to start with a little kick, so that I know that it's not going to shoot off. I have had one during a photo shoot off from me.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I've had some So anyway, so yes, I do get in there. And I think you're right, especially with something like as powerful as a Wolf Warrior, right? I mean, you've got an awful lot of torque there. And if you can just temper that torque, then it's going to make it so much easier on your body when you're just, you coming in, maybe you're doing 20 miles an hour and you decide, I'm just going to go up to like 25. But if you put your foot down, as it were, you give it the beans, as I sometimes say, you're going to end up wrenching yourself and almost coming off that thing. It's very powerful. And the same thing applies when you get up into like the Dualtron X's and the 11X's and things like that. They're extremely torquey. So yeah.
That is one issue with some of these high-end beast type scooters. I love that you use the word beans. I just made a music video called I Like Beans, and I'm actually talking about horsepower, but I'm eating beans while I'm doing it.
Sounds like you're having fun there, Dagwood.
Oh, I am.
Good.
It's COVID, and everything's depressing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I get it, but make the most of the time and space that you have, and do what you can, and try and get out there and have a good time, which is one of the reasons I just love scooters. It's like motorcycles. It's a solo thing you can do, and as soon as you get on it and touch that throttle and feel the wind on your face, you're happy already, just immediately.
How do you not smile, right? How do you not have a
Exactly.
great big silly smile on your face? Yeah, no, that's exactly my experience. The first time I got on one, I thought, oh, this is way better than I thought it was going to be.
That's what I tell people about the Wolf Warrior. I say it makes my face hurt. And they're like, what do you mean makes your, well, if all that grinning, you're using all those muscles smiling, it makes your face hurt.
Yeah, no, the Wolf is a very, very, very fun scooter, I think.
Yeah,
grammatically incorrect, but it's a fun
You
scooter.
put it as the #1 scooter of 2020.
Yeah, that's right. For my I think it won 2 of my categories for 2020, the overall category and then the all-rounder. So, yeah, no, it was fantastic.
Yeah, and you use the street tires. I have the knobby off-road tires.
Right. So, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, people are going to get scooters that they need for their own personal way of riding. I personally don't enjoy going off-roading on a scooter. I don't mind going, up and down a hill here and there. But I actually just love being out, riding along beside the ocean and taking some of the trails around this fair city. I live in Victoria, BC, and it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. I can pull over, stop, and watch, seals and sea lions, and watch for whales, or scoot off into the forest and watch deer. And it's a little bit of a fairy tale. So for me, I like to have really nice, solid trails rather than going off into the bush. But that's just me.
I love your videos, and that's part of the reason I watched. I think it was 44 minutes of you driving through Victoria. And
oh, is that right?
yeah, I mean, the music was nice and pleasant. I like the music. Sometimes a lot of YouTube videos have these really irritating, like pounding. They don't get the audio right. It's too loud, and they have like pounding drums, and then they'll take some kind of tuned voice and they crank it up like about 4 or 5 octaves, so it sounds like chipmunks. I don't know where that. It must be free downloads on YouTube or something. But your music is actually pleasant. It's at the right volume, and it kind of matches what you're doing at the time. I did, as a fan, I'll tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed that video, and it was one of the things I was going to bring up was, can you do more of those? Because I did like it.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't really sure if people were going to like it or enjoy it, but I was delighted to be able to do it. At the end of the day, I thought I happened to use Epidemic Sound for the Epidemic Sound is my sort of spot where I go and download the royalty-free music that I use.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. I tend to do my own. I do have some from YouTube that I've organized into happy-go-lucky, adventurous, sad, meandering. I just kind of put it in little folders. But so
nice.
far, I've been able. I use Macintosh products, so I just go into GarageBand and I lay down some drum tracks and I do some bass.
Oh, wow!
And guitar. Yeah, but it's not good. Don't oh wow too soon.
No, that's amazing. I'm just not capable that way. I married somebody who has multiple degrees in music, and
wow.
Yeah, I'm not of that at all.
So is her doctorate in musicology?
She has an undergraduate in music. Her master's was in music, and then her PhD was in communications and culture. So
wow.
Then
You married
the decision. Oh, I'm totally out of my league. Yeah, don't Google her.
Good for you. That's the way to do it, man.
Yeah, no. I'm definitely married out of my league.
Good for you. And how about the audio? Like as you are writing, do you have a microphone set up? I notice usually you're writing and then you'll stop and talk. Yeah,
no, my writing. So because I do filming for her channel with more expensive equipment, I wanted to keep this channel to be sort of just me with my cell phone. So that's all I'm using as a cell phone for those shots. When I'm writing, I'm using a different camera system. But for the shots where I'm talking to the camera, that's just my Samsung S10.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah, keep it simple. That's a good way to go. I'm learning all those different things. Where do you put the camera angles? How to do the audio? I'm thinking that the simplest way might be just to record the video, come back to the studio, talk into a microphone where it's nice. Don't try to pretend like, it's as it's happening, like, oh, watch out for that car. I think I'll turn left here. Oh, what's that guy doing?
Yeah, and then you get a little bit more, but obviously your quality is going to shoot right up.
Yes.
I do have a microphone, and I do put a dead cat on it so that it's killing any kind of wind noise, and at least that's what I'm attempting to do. But what I'm also trying to do is I want to ensure that I'm out there shooting as often as I can. Mm-hmm. And so if there are any barriers to entry, I try to eliminate them. So, for example, if I had to have a backpack with camera equipment, tripods, etc., then I may be less likely to do that particular video that day or that moment in time.
Or you're not going to hit that corner at the same speed. You're fumbling, you've got other things. Yeah, I find that the dead cat really works way better than a live cat. Those are too hard to control. So I got a bunch of questions for you. You want me to just go ahead and work down these questions? And just off the top of your head, solid wheels or pneumatic?
Pneumatic.
Are you familiar with the honeycomb wheels?
Yeah, I tried them on a 09 and had one come almost off.
Oh.
Now, I'm a big guy, right? I'm 6 foot tall and 278 pounds. So the pneumatic is much more comfortable to me, and from a handling perspective, I find it much more comfortable and safer.
So I'll give you 3 different categories of scooters, and if you can, off the top of your head, just give me which one you would recommend. What is your favorite model for commuting?
For commuting? Oh, the Cruiser. E-Move Cruiser.
E-Move Cruiser. Okay, long distance?
Same.
How about off-road?
Budget no option, 11X.
11X. Now, I wonder, you seem to mention that the throttle was a little twitchy. I would think that would hurt in off-road situations if you get your wheels spinning like underneath some mud or dirt. Is that an issue with the 11X?
I think what it was with the 11X was that in my head, Dagwood, I imagined that I had already had the turbo button depressed. So, I'd grown accustomed to the fact that this is a really torquey, powerful scooter, no problem. And then I thought, let me just take it down into eco mode. I'll press this button, and then I gave it the beans and almost got torn off the scooter because, of course, I was actually in turbo.
Okay. I see.
So I think in a situation like that, though, just like you were talking earlier about P settings, you're just going to adjust it and dial it down. I'd probably just drop it down to gear 1 or gear 2 if I was in a muddy area. The torquiness certainly can take you a little bit off guard, but I think with even the 11X and Duotron X, for example, as well, these big, powerful scooters are something you can mitigate that just by dropping down the gears.
Yeah, I'm with you on the turbo and eco. Yeah, there's such a variety of things you can play around with to kind of mitigate that a little bit. The same thing happened to me on the Wolf Warrior. And since I've had 2 Wolf Warriors now, I noticed a difference between the 2. The first Wolf Warrior I had, you could tell if eco mode was depressed or the button was sticking out. And the same thing with the turbo mode. And the one I have now, I have to get going and kind of click the buttons to tell, because you can't tell. It's like an on or off as opposed to depressed or protruding.
Yeah, I think it's quite common. I've ridden a number of electric scooters now, and you're right, because it's a very common switch.
It's kind of a downgrade.
Yeah.
From the older one that I had.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if on your LED monitor, your LED interface that you have there, that a little button or a little light would come on and show you, maybe a green leaf that says eco, and then maybe a red light comes on if you're in turbo?
I think that would be a delight. Or is there really even the point? Like in my head, it's like, do we need an eco and a turbo? Can't we just have turbo?
Yeah.
Turbo on, turbo off.
I've heard that if you go really long distance on the Wolf Warrior anyway, that you want to use both wheels. I know it's a little bit different from turbo, but you want to use both wheel drive because you'll overtax that single engine and they heat up, and it can shorten the lifespan of your scooter.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. All right, the next question is, what weather do you typically ride in? Do you have a cutoff? I rode motorcycles for years. I'm originally from Hawaii, and I used to ride 365 days a year. And if it rained, hey, I just put on a wetsuit, and I would still ride. Is there a cutoff for you up there in Victoria? Are there certain months, or is it weather, or what is it that says, okay, I'm taking the Yaris instead of the scooter?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in Fahrenheit, basically above freezing, I'm out there.
Okay.
And we do get a day of, every year. We typically get at least one day where it gets below freezing. So I'm just ice. I'm not a fan of ice and wet leaves.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I noticed that. That's another thing I really like when you kind of play up, like you ate it that one time, not badly, but you ate it in the wet leaves. And, you go back in a couple different episodes and reflect back on it and show it in slow motion, and it's nice. I noticed that your first reaction you don't scream a curse word or something. You laugh. You're like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. Well, in that particular, I think that particular one with the wet leaves, there was a friend of mine was walking along the ocean on the other side of the road, and he saw me going one way, and I thought, oh, I'll just pull over and say hello. And so, and yeah, wiped right out. And he came running over to make sure I was okay, and his wife was like, well, worried, and I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, and it makes you feel kind of embarrassed, too, because you're trying to be cool. Hey, what's happening, dude? You just want to, Well, it would have been cool if you did a nice rooster tail, and then the leaves shot out ahead of you, and then you just ended up with your hands on your hips going.
Yeah, anybody that see me on video knows that there's nothing,
not gonna happen.
Delicate and no.
How do you like me now?
Yeah, there's going to be nothing cool about me in my videos. That's for sure, Dagwood.
I think that way too about myself, but it might not be. It might not be true. I was screaming across a desert field right by Las Vegas Boulevard, and I did luckily capture it on video. And these guys in a low rider, all murdered out, black Chevy Suburban. They had the big wide brim hats on and tats, and they're like, "Yeah, get it." I was like, oh wow,
that's awesome.
My perception is that people look at me and think, "What a dork," but you never know.
Yeah, you got to get that on video though. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. And now it's time for a little break. Brought to you by our sponsors, Nobody. Nobody? That's right. The Electric Scooter Podcast is for enthusiasts, by enthusiasts, bought and paid for by nobody. And now, back to our show with Timothy West. So, what is your favorite accessory for scooters? And it can be, or a safety feature, or both. You can expound on that.
You know what? The multi-tool. I always have the multi-tool with me. I haven't needed it very often, but it's so handy to have, and it's one of the, typically manufacturers will send these multi-tools that are Allen key or Torx or whatever the bolt is. And sometimes, it's one of those things that will be irritating if you're on a ride and something gets loose and you just have that little thing. So that coupled with a little pouch, and typically it's in my pocket, but that coupled with a little pouch up front, those are two things that I think are really, really handy.
Yeah, if you add rear view mirrors or anything on there, that stuff just tends to, I just don't know how to keep that stuff from rattling loose. An Allen wrench definitely comes in handy.
It does, yeah. And in fact, that will be something I'm looking to improve upon is the mirrors. I'd like to have a little mirror on that I can just clip on to the different scooters that I'm using, because I think not having to look over my left shoulder sometimes, especially if you're in traffic, and you're just, if you're looking over your left shoulder, somebody's going to open their door.
Well, your buddy, Electron Surfer, he recommends the half knee. And that looks like a pretty quality mirror. I use the one from Voro Motors. It's only $12. It has the little concave on it. But like everything else, I think the best way to affix to a scooter are the RAM, the company RAM. They have a lot of accessories that have like a ball joint on them. That might be the way to go. I've got a couple of their accessories on motorcycles and other things, and I have to do
I'll
that
check
on
into
the
it.
scooter.
Thank you.
Yeah, RAM, RAM. And they're on Amazon. Couldn't think of that for a second. They're on Amazon, and they're not super expensive, but they're solid metal, and they're pretty heavy duty. So what was your funnest time on a scooter, and what was your biggest disaster?
Alrighty. So the funnest time on a scooter, funny enough, Ride the Glide, which are my local repair / sales spot here, which they're very kind. They very kindly have offered me scooters to test ride and share my experiences with, and they've always been very, very kind in that they never give me their thoughts first. And if I crucify a scooter, they're like, "Yeah, just tell it like it is, Tim. We're totally fine with that." I remember tearing into one scooter one time, and I came back and I was a little bit sheepish about it. I said, "Yeah, this isn't gonna sound great," and they're like, "Doesn't matter." And I'm like, "Okay, great." So they've been always really, really cool. Well, one day they gave me a call and they said, "Hey, Tim, we've got an 11X, I think it was a Wolf Warrior 11X and a Dualtron Thunder, I think it was. We're thinking it's a beautiful day. Why don't we go for a boot? and off we went. We went on to basically what we did was about every, 15, 20 minutes, we just swap out for a different scooter. So I got a really good experience on riding with them.
You're so lucky.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. Taking the paths, going maybe a little too fast on a couple of occasions, but also seeing their big dials, full of smiles. It was fun.
I've had actual fantasies of walking into a scooters mega store and seeing scooters everywhere and just being able to ride them. What most people have to do, it's surely the same in Canada as it is in America. Not everybody has a place around the corner. So you watch YouTube. We rely on people like you. We watch YouTube. We see the comparisons. And that's why it's important that, you do have different riders. And, there's a lot of people in a similar situation that they're worried about, is this scooter going to hold up under my weight? Or is the stem where I'm holding on to the handlebars too low for me? I'm over 6 foot tall or whatever. So what you're doing is really important to a lot of people, because that's what we rely on to make our decision on what we're going to purchase. And then you got your fingers crossed the whole time when that package comes and you're sitting there waiting for the FedEx or the UPS to arrive, and then you unbox it and you hope it works for you. We don't have the luxury of just going into a place.
Yeah, and I think also that was the thing that was driving me crazy, because that's why I started the channel, was because I kept watching these YouTube videos.
That's
and
awesome.
they were fabulous scooter videos. But the guys that were on there, like the Ben Foxes of the world, they're all in shape.
They're all 175 pounds.
Yeah. Like 5'10", 165.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
And they just, the electric scooter guy, they do have a guy, Ray Mayer, and he does these reviews he calls Big Dog.
Yeah, that's
Big
right.
Dog reviews.
He's great.
Yeah,
he's great. I love his videos.
I
love
want to
his take
interview
on it.
all three of them. They've already agreed to it, but
they're great people.
I'm getting Timothy West first, so that you're my first interview. But it's interesting you brought that up, the shop, because one of the biggest rises you got out of my granddaughters was when you reviewed the Super Glide 4.0.
Oh, yeah.
And there was we just all started laughing. There's a part where you're riding down the street. This also kind of ties in with how are you perceived by other people. There was a girl, and she was, I don't know, she looked like mid-20s. When she saw you riding, and on that, whether you want to call it cool or different or interesting, that Super Glide 4.0, she leaped into the street. Like she was going to give you a big hug or something. She was like, yeah. And you just kind of shrugged it off and kept going like no big deal. I was thinking, wow, Super Glide, what a commercial for Super Glide 4.0. Chicks throw themselves at you when you ride down the street.
I had to go back and watch that.
Yeah, go back and watch it. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, well, this is how you know how happily married I am. I'm not slowing down for anybody.
Exactly. I'm like, that guy is happily married. I can tell.
That's how you know.
And I've always been fascinated. I was drawn to that video because standing up on something that has bicycle-like tires that are spoked. I also like the way the seat, it doubles as a battery cover. You can ride it as a scooter, or you can sit down and ride it as a bicycle. What is your opinion on those types of vehicles, and I haven't ridden one yet, but I want to. Why aren't there more of them?
I think that's a really good question. That particular one, the Super Glide 4.0, is developed and designed by the folks over at Ride the Glide, and then they had it shipped over and manufactured to their specifications. Manufactured and then shipped over, obviously. I think we're moving into a space now over the next few years where more and more companies are going to look at vehicles like this and say, you know what, Dagwood, he's got his microbrewery type thing, and he do deliveries or what have you, and that's the sort of thing that would be amazing, right? To show up and you can design it out, and it's completely environmentally friendly, electric, so there's no real cost, free parking,
bamboo deck.
You can have fun with it. Design it up. And I think the other thing that I like about it is that the ride quality on it is just beautiful.
I was imagining that. Going over potholes. Well, you probably don't have potholes in Victoria, but we have them here.
Yeah, no, we don't have a lot. In Canada, we get a lot of potholes because obviously with the ice, right? The water freeze anyway. So, but in Victoria, we don't get them nearly as much because it doesn't freeze as much, which is why I live here.
Even the name Victoria kind of represents the way it looks in your videos. Just impeccable. The lawns are all kept. Everyone picks up trash. It just looks nice.
It's pretty fairy tale. I mean, in some ways, because Victoria is very sort of based on the British world, right? Queen Victoria and all that. So in some ways, I find Victoria almost more English than England, more British than the Brits. Having lived in both, and I can, there are parts of Victoria where I feel, wow, this is so English or so British.
I'm going to exercise my language muscle here and say bucolic.
Indeed.
It does. It just looks beautiful.
Yes. It is indeed.
I'll head through that part. We want to go to Banff, and that looks like another beautiful part of the world, and Victoria is probably a place that we'll hit on the way up there. So I just have a couple more questions for you.
Just so you know, Banff is actually, in Canada, one of the most incredible places to visit. And I'm going to be there this summer. Last summer I was in Jasper, which is the brother or sister to Banff, the other big national park just directly north of Banff, and it's amazing.
What time of year? I mean, obviously summertime, I guess, but what month is the best month to go?
No, not summer. No, the pro tip here from the guy who is I'm a professional photographer, and I love to shoot in September. September, and the reason for that is twofold. Number one, the bugs die down, so there are no bugs to worry about. Number two, if you love shooting bears, then they come out because there are berries on the side of the roads, and so you'll get more wildlife.
I heard they'll eat right out of your hand. You just put the berries in your hand, and they'll come right up.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Good Lord, don't do that.
Just
don't
smear
get out
some
your car,
honey on
please.
your head. You smear some honey on your head, and you fill your hand with berries.
Yeah, please don't do that.
The bears will come right out.
I've seen people get out of their cars. It's a grizzly bear. You're looking at them like, what are you doing? That is absolutely nuts. Don't do that. Stay in your car. Wind the windows up.
Unless it's like sugar bear cereal or something, or koala bear. I've heard koala bears, though, when they get hungry, I heard they get hangry. They're so cute and cuddly looking. I've heard from Aussies that they can get pretty intense. So the next question is night rides, yes or no?
Yes. I really enjoy it. They light up like a Christmas tree, especially if you're on trails and stuff. No problem at all. I'm a soccer referee, so I use it as my vehicle of choice to get back and forth from soccer games. And absolutely. Night ride's great.
And you don't commute to work, right? You have a studio right in your home? I'm just guessing.
Yes, I work from home.
All right, Mr. West, I got one final question for you. Nothing to do with scooters, but Beatles or Stones?
Definitely Beatles.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Timothy West. I hope the people that listen to my podcast will be turned on to what you're doing and go visit your channel. I highly encourage everybody to do that. You also do podcasts that have visuals. I like that. I mean, I like what I'm doing. I want it to be strictly voice-based because my target audience are people that are puttering around in their garage. They got their earbuds in, or they're on maybe on their scooter, commuting and listening. But I really like what you do too with Electron Surfer, where you split the screen and then you come out, you show like a picture of the scooter that you're talking about. That visual is important and very helpful, at least very helpful to me, and I'm sure it's helpful to a lot of other people. So I hope people will. I hope just this podcast will get more people to subscribe and give you more likes, and like I have, and me and my family, we enjoy watching you. We'll put on got a new video coming out. Let's grab the popcorn and sit around and watch YouTube. We don't like a lot of people engage with YouTube on their laptops. I have it on a big screen, so I know it's smart if you're a YouTuber. Which I don't know. I'm not going to be a YouTuber. I guess I would say a podcaster. But if you're going to be a YouTuber, it's good to go on other people's pages and make comments and stuff like that. But when you're watching it from your living room on your television and it's run through your stereo, there's not really an interface to do that. You have to, I remember, next time I'm going to go on my laptop and I'm going to make a comment, but you don't really do that when you're just watching through your television. But we do get the full effect. We hear your music, and, when you show a scooter on the screen, it's, represented large, and it is very helpful. So I hope this is good for you.
I really appreciate that. Well, that was very kind of you to say. I'm quite humbled by that, and I'm delighted to be able to hop on a call with you and share my thoughts on scooters. So, and if people out there are also big guys and big girls and they're interested in scooters, by all means, hit me up on youtube.com/TimsElectric. And again, thank you for having me on today, Dagwood. It's very kind of you.
Awesome. It's been great. Keep on doing that thing you do.
Cheers. Stay safe.
All right, Tim. I'll talk to you later. Ladies and gentlemen, Timothy West. That guy is the best. Now I kind of understand where his voice comes from. He has that soothing, calm, yet sophisticated voice. The man's British, and he moved to Canada. So it's kind of a combination of sophistication and courtesy, if you will. And I'm not exaggerating when I say he's a Renaissance man, because he really does it all. Sounds like he's got a great family life. He lives in a bucolic location. Hopefully we'll have him back someday for another podcast. But in the meantime, check out his channel, Timothy West. He goes by Tim West, but Timothy West was taken. So he goes by the moniker Timothy West. Check him out, subscribe to his channel, and listen to his podcasts that are coming up, apparently. And that about wraps it up for the Electric Scooter Podcast number 6. That is a wrap. So remember, please keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down.
Timothy West, our first guest, is the best. Our first guest, Timothy West.